Good morning. Well, school's out for the summer for my kids, but not my husband. So we kind of shipped them off to my father-in-law's for a couple of days. And I had some time this morning for the first time in a really long time to actually think with a clear mind while I was getting ready, instead of having to deal with yelling, fighting, screaming, whining, and all the other stuff that usually comes with getting the kids ready in the morning. So it actually dawned on me that this month makes a very significant, I guess it's a very significant anniversary for me. 10 years ago, something happened to me for my career that made a huge, huge impact on my life. And I thought it might be really kind of inspiring to share it. So let me set the scene. 10 years ago, I was 26 and I was 6 months pregnant. I was the facilities manager for the Rhode Island Convention Center, Dunkin' Donuts Center, and Veterans Memorial Auditorium. Was working pretty long hour days. I was young. I was trying to impress people, so I'd get in at like 6:30 in the morning, go home at like 8 o'clock at night. A lot of times, it was one of those things where I was just really determined to work as hard as I could. Of course, didn't have any kids at the time, so I was able to do that kind of stuff. Well, it was the end of the school year, and for some crazy reason, I don't remember why, my husband decided to cook breakfast for his kids at school. Now, I mean like bacon and eggs and all that stuff. So I woke up to a grease fire in my kitchen. I woke up to him yelling, and I come running across. Now, we lived in a tiny little two-bedroom apartment in Patuxent Village in Cranston. So I come running across the kitchen, slipping on bacon grease, almost falling on my butt. Now, my waddling 6-month pregnant body almost fell. He set the pan down on the living room floor as he opened the door and burned a hole in the wood floor. It was one of those really crazy mornings. So I'm at 4:30 in the morning cleaning up bacon grease on my hands and knees out of the kitchen, and that stuff's not very easy to clean up. So that morning continued that I went to work, almost getting into a car accident on my way to work. I was just about pulling in the garage, and I came really close to a car accident. Well, got into work, and my boss called me and told me that I needed to lay off two of my employees. I think they were electricians, or at least one was an electrician. I think one was a plumber. But they were part-time employees, and around this time of year, I guess they were used to that sort of thing because work kind of slowed down in the summer. But here I am kind of worried. I'm like, well, what am I going to do? Like, I never laid anybody off before. About an hour later, my boss called me up to the main office, and she said she needed to talk to me. And I got called into a conference room. And there was about 4 or 5 other managers of different departments, and probably about maybe 10, 15 of us altogether, employees, box of tissues on the table, and the HR person walks in. And she laid all of us off, laid me off for the first time in my entire career. Now, mind you, I'm 6 months pregnant, have no clue what I'm going to do. I was beside myself. I couldn't stop crying. I remember my boss telling me, well, at least you'll have more time to spend with the baby. But I'm like, well, what if I can't afford that? For those of you that have never been laid off before, unemployment really, no matter how much money you make, you're capped at a not very high amount of money. And so I was nuts. So I packed up all my stuff, bawling my eyes out, went home, unpacking my stuff, and I got a call from one of my previous bosses. She was a property manager who I had worked for at my previous property management company. And I thought she had found out that I got laid off. I don't know how, because it wasn't that long after I got home. But she's like, no, I was calling to tell you I was actually leaving the company that I had worked for her with at. And she's like, I'm going back to downtown Providence to work for CB Richard Ellis in a commercial high-rise. I was like, well, guess what? I got laid off today, so if you need help, I have no job. So this was June 2009, 10 years ago. Sure enough, she actually needed help. The tenant coordinator who was with the property decided not to stay on with the property. And so after about a month or so of getting things organized, switching management companies, I was in talks with them. And I actually started, I believe it was either in the end of July, or I think it was actually August 1st officially, to work at 100 Westminster Street, which is where I've been for almost 10 years now. Now, I had to actually take a step back. So I went from being a commercial property manager prior, and I had gotten a job as the facilities manager at the places I said I was before. Now I took a step back and became a tenant coordinator, and it was a decent pay cut, but it was an opportunity to go there, and I loved working with my boss. Her name was Eileen Briley, and she was an unbelievable mentor, somebody who was very inspiring, so down to earth. It was just me and her in that office for a few years, and I learned so much from her. She got me involved in IRM. She encouraged me to get involved with IRM to get my CPM, and that alone has been a tremendous help for my career. I got super involved with IRM, the classes that I took, the network of people that I have, and the leadership trainings that I've gone to with IRM alone have made a tremendous impact on my life. So 10 years ago, getting laid off put me into a position where I had to take a step back, but was able to be where I am now. So, as a tenant coordinator, because I had been a manager before, Eileen let me kind of run with whatever I could do. And she encouraged me to do what I could to get the training I could. And I was able to develop amazing relationships with the tenants in the building that I'm at now. It's funny because I literally started there in like I said, I believe it was August. Had my son in September, so I've been a property manager. Well, I've since I was able to grow, right? So starting at the tenant as a tenant coordinator, I was able to grow back into an assistant property manager, and then became the commercial property manager when my boss retired in 2014. So I've actually been there longer than I've been a mother. So I've been pretty attached to a lot of the tenants in my building, and have grown amazing relationships there. But I just wanted to use that as a little moment of inspiration when it seems like your life is crumbling and falling apart, and we don't always know what God's plan is for us. We never know what His plan is for us, but it ended up working out, and I just really wanted to share that in hopes that it's inspiring for someone else that might have to go through such difficult times. I'm always happy to talk about my career path. I actually use that story, kind of a little toned down, but I use that story a lot when I'm talking to colleges and I go out and I talk about property management and whatnot. But I'm always happy to talk to others about how I've gotten through that and where it's gotten me today. So hope you guys have a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll get some sunshine back today. It looks like it's a little rainy out there, but enjoy. Bye.